Dr. Daniel Knowles here with the phenomenal Dr. Simon Dove,
Oh,
and we're going to be talking all things Mile High Tick. So the first thing I tell you is make sure you click subscribe because you always want to be dialed into all things Mile High Tick. We put incredible episodes out each week, so make sure you hit subscribe, whether it be Spotify or iTunes or whatever channel, YouTube that you're watching this. And then I'm going to ask you to do a second thing. Make sure you know and dial in to get your calendar synced to be at Mile High OMG 13. Maybe we'll call it 14 just to, have
wow.
Matthew McCoy be happy, which is why I'm wearing this shirt, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So make sure you rise up to milehigh.com in August of 2025. Look, you know you want to be there. Just
Yeah.
make sure you dial it in now.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Simon Dove is a longtime friend. So since chiropractic college, and we're not going to say when that was because we, don't want to age ourselves too much.
Right.
Um, and both fellow New Yorkers, and love that we're in Colorado. And he dials in Mile High each year and helps us out so much with it. And you know him from the stage, and you know him from the whiskey also. So, so Dr. Simon Dove, thank you for joining us on the Mile High podcast.
You got it, Danny. It's great to be here. I'm going to say what you just encouraged people to subscribe. I can't emphasize that enough. You guys, each year, you really are putting out quality stuff. This is not a once a year kind of amount of information. Like Joel Kinch's podcast you guys just did. Fantastic. So you definitely want to subscribe and stay up on these podcasts, find out what's going on and really get, be in it to win it.
Well, yeah, Mile High is all year round. So you can
Right.
be connected and continue the experience, you know, beyond Mile High or leading up to the next one.
Yeah.
So this is to help you be have chiropractic flowing through your blood, right? So and your heart and soul. So Simon,
Yeah.
let's start learning more about you. Well, not too much, but a little bit. So what spurred the chiropractic spark in your life?
Wow. Oh, good Lord. And this is like the Halloween season. I feel like gather round, children. We're gonna have a little story about when old Simon first got sparked on chiropractic. There are a lot of factors. The long and short of it, I didn't grow up with chiropractic. I had no idea what the word was, literally. Because all of a sudden I was in undergraduate college and like a lot of people, I was working three jobs. I was like, and one of the jobs was catering, and I remember washing dishes, and my back and neck was always pissed off. And this one of the coworkers said, you should go to my chiropractor.
Hmm.
I literally said, "You're what?" I had no idea of the word. Like I didn't even have a position on it because I didn't know what it was or what it existed.
Could you figure out how to pronounce it, or is that even?
Yeah. Was that with a Q? Chiro what? So long story short, he explains it to me. I'm game. I go, and it was fantastic. It made so much sense. I was raised by some old school simple, focused quality of life, Irish, Italian. Like, if you're sick, you don't go to the doctor right away. You like see what's going on, what's off. Oh, you're running too hard. Go rest, have some chicken soup, go to bed. Your body is going to figure this out.
Mm.
So it's maybe that element of how I was brought up, that's what had it make sense. So that made sense. He started adjusting me. This is Northern Virginia. And it was fantastic. And then I slowly kind of just drifted out of care. I didn't at that time want to be a chiropractor. I thought, it was great. And I
Hmm.
appreciated it. I stopped going. I finished undergrad and I was an art major. And my uncle had moved to Italy And during he had graduated Life University, and there was some program where he was working in Europe. He falls in love, has some kids, and then as I'm graduating art school, it was a great opportunity to go over there and start following my art. So, as I said, he was a chiropractor. And during his life experience there, he started developing mid back pain. And so bad that it would wake him up every morning at about 2 a.m., like a knife in his back. There was no position that worked for him to be able to manage that except going out onto the couch and sitting and trying to get some sleep or rest there. So not sustainable. After a couple months of that, running a practice, his life was hell. So he finds a chiropractor from California, northern Italy, Udine. That's the town, not the chiropractor. And Dwight Howard, for all you Dwight,
Oh, I remember him.
totally, right? And Dwight had just finished all his network stuff, goes to Italy. Michael David Ferraro had never heard of or didn't know about it. He goes one session, and he had been to other chiropractors in Europe. They had physiopods and all these
Right.
different
Right.
bone manipulators and all sorts of stuff. Nothing. So that changed his life. I show up to do my art. He says, "Hey, you want to get adjusted?" And
Hmm.
I say, "Heck yeah." Is the Pope Catholic? I was like, "Yes, that's a heck yes." So I've been on 2 airplanes, a train, a couple boats. I don't know. I was like, yes, he adjusts me, and I went somewhere. So I had chiropractic before, remember? But
Yeah.
classic, straightforward. And he says to me, "So Simon, this is a little different." And I go, "Whatever." He said, "No, it's a little different. There's lighter and I was like, "Whatever." Like to me, it was my uncle. I loved him. I trusted him. I didn't need to hear anything. So I
Uh-huh.
interrupt him again and say whatever. And he goes, "Simon, shut up." And I was like, "All right." He goes, "Listen, I'm not just aligning the bones, but these light touches are really helping your nervous system come back online, helping your spinal cord relax. When mama's happy, everybody's happy." So
Uh-huh.
it's basically getting the brain and spinal cord to like relax, whole new level of mind, body, spirit. I was like, "All right, okay." So he does his little contacts, and I just went somewhere.
Uh-huh.
So I chalked it up to all the travel, right? And all
Right,
the
right, 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 right,
life. Well,
right.
it happened the next day. In fact, they couldn't wake me up. I fell asleep on the table. And for anyone has ever trying to fall asleep on a chiropractic table, I do not recommend it.
Right,
The first
right,
15 minutes seem
right,
great.
right,
You think
right,
about
right.
how can my bed have this? I want to have this in my bed. No, but you wake up and you just have been kicked in the face with like the bruises. So it continues to be like this for weeks. Long story short, or slightly shorter, I then I can't stop asking questions. I'm doing my art, making art contacts, but I'm sweeping his office. I'm hanging out in his office. I'm like, what is going on? Half these people don't even have back pain.
Hey,
They're like,
no
they're
back pain? Why would you
yeah,
go?
yeah. I was like, wait, I was told this is a back pain thing. Felt like, and just miracles and beautiful things. It found me. It sparked me. But these different players, my uncle, these different paths, that just kind of converged. And I was like, because it hit a level that I felt like I was experiencing certain elements that I would attribute to heaven, like the inner peace and the inner connection of me being able to even feel my own soul
Right, right,
was like, what is this? I'm like, everyone needs to know about this. This is amazing. So I
right.
turned around, came back to the US. I had to give up a lot of wine, a lot of good food. That's how much I like chiropractic, let me tell you. So
Well, Italy, Atlanta, there's a difference in the food.
just a little, just a little. So
But
that's
there are some great things to eat in Atlanta. There are some standouts, but it's
for
not
sure. Yeah,
not
not at all.
at all. Not at all. And so then, um, fast forward, you're chiropractic school in Atlanta,
Yep.
life. We run into each other somewhere along the way. And
Yep.
you followed me from, to Colorado, you know.
Yep.
So, I mean, you practiced for a while in New York City and
Yes.
then followed me to Colorado. Tell me a little bit about practicing in New York City.
It was amazing. In my own personal development, I was born there, but I don't have a lot of memory because my mom and I left when I was about 5, right?
Okay.
And at the same time, there was this really interesting resonance that when I went there to set up, because originally there was a chiropractor from school, he and I were going to team together and open up a chiropractic clinic that had a lot of focus on Thurman Fleet's work,
Right.
the zone therapy. So we did that. And then after about 6 months of that, we kind of realized that this wasn't as good of a fit for our paths of where we needed to go. But so New York kind of snuck up and picked me again because he was headed there. Like he grew up there, he had a lot of roots there, so it just made sense for the connections. But when I went there, it was amazing practicing there because it was almost like a coming home for me, even though I
Hmm.
didn't have a lot of memory to it. And it was stimulating and exciting. And I had my office was in Soho. So I'd walk down the street and I was like, oh, that's Whoopi Goldberg, like for real. Like, oh, there's Dennis Hopper. Like, wow.
Hmm.
And so like it was exciting.
Hmm.
And being on the East Coast, a lot of connection to some great other chiropractors and chiropractic seminars. And it was there for about 6 years.
Hmm. And
And
then, big contrast,
yeah,
New York City, Colorado.
yeah.
What was the difference of your experience, not like skyscrapers versus mountains, but
Okay.
of being a practitioner in big city versus Colorado?
It, oxygen. There's just not as much oxygen. No, it's actually a great
And
question.
humidity, and humidity.
Yeah, yeah. I was happy to give that up. It's a great question because I felt like I was coming out of the wilderness and somebody was giving me a nice fresh glass of water, to tell you the truth. Sort of
Mhm.
the mindset that was here in Colorado of the people that had just a little bit more understanding and connection to vitality and health. I mean, Danny, you know this already, and viewers might not know this. You can't throw a stick down a street in Boulder or Fort Collins, which is where we are, and not hit an Olympic athlete.
Right, 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 right.
So it was my experience of the prior 8 or so years of practicing. I would have to explain chiropractic and for sure explain chiropractic or network spinal analysis at the time, right? So I come to Colorado and I start my little like speech. Hi, I'm Simon. I'm a chiropractor and I do network spinal analysis. And they're like, oh, Donnie Epstein's work, right? Yeah, I know him. I live down the street from him. I go to two. What? So it was a really nice experience of just having a mindset that was a little more accessible
Mhm.
in
Well,
Colorado.
yeah, it was a big contrast practicing in Spartanburg for a couple of years to practicing, in Boulder, Colorado. Boulder,
Yeah.
Colorado, Spartanburg, quite a different audience, right?
Yeah. No
So
pig feet on the
yeah,
countertop.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now audience, shifting gears, fast forward,
Okay.
Mile High.
Yeah.
Uh, Thank you so much for helping us, entertaining people, supporting as one of our MCs for all these years. I don't know how many years, but a bunch of them,
Yeah.
which has been so extraordinary. It's so much fun to see you have fun with the
Yeah.
audience. What's the experience of being an MC at a chiropractic function?
Oh, it's so much fun. I mean, it's more like helping out at a family reunion and a big family, like to where, the like third cousins that you don't know or have never met, even though you're in your 50s.
Hmm.
Um, I like this word you use that I've been entertaining people. for so long. I think we need to work in maybe some juggling, some spinal tricks or something. Let's really up this
Well, you
entertainment.
bring fun. You bring fun.
Oh,
You don't
thanks.
just introduce people, right? You bring fun to the experience.
Well, I'm glad because we need to have fun in this life. You only get one, right? So,
Some people like me get a couple, but
yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Um, it is amazing. It is like a family, like I said. Gosh, and each year, I mean, we sound like broken records of like this is the best, it's going to be best next year. How about Jen Tempo's talk?
oh,
Dude,
yeah.
and that felt like a homecoming. Like I hadn't heard him speak in so many years, and I don't even know if he was speaking chiropractically much recently.
No,
But
he
holy
wasn't. He
cow.
wasn't. He hasn't been for years and years, and he just really showed up as a favor to me when I asked him.
Well, God bless both of you because that was, and then as so many people, I mean,
You could
Joel,
hear a pin drop. You could literally hear a
oh
pin.
yeah, totally. But
Yeah.
Joel Kinch, he's been there from day one, spoke at the first Mile High, and like just hearing his green book, like so you think like, oh, well, that's the normal routine, Joel, he's getting better and better.
Yeah.
Like which is great. So this inspires me to up my game and like really, keep moving it forward. It is a treat and an inspiration to MC at Mile High, to answer your question.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. And what are some of the things you love about being at Mile High all these years?
I like making new connections.
Hmm.
I also like seeing some of the newer docs come back and they
Hmm.
share about how illuminating it was for them and like some things they were getting cleared up for them, making that jump from school that is so structured and you're told
Hmm.
what to do and now you have this like ability to do what you want to do, but you want to do it right and all that.
Right. Right.
If they
Right.
come back that second, third, fourth year and you start to see even more of them being who they are.
Hmm.
Here's a perfect example. Like people have, this well, Danny. People have this idea about philosophy and chiropractic philosophy. And
Hmm.
usually it's I hate it or I love it. And the
Hmm.
people that don't like it have this notion of as if philosophy is like this, I don't know how to, like this strange thing that they don't want because they don't think they need it and it's weird. And
Uh-huh.
what I love, like people to start to realize is you have a philosophy, regardless if you think you're going to philosophy stuff that's like a green book or a green book discussion or anything. And in fact, you start to realize the importance and how crucial philosophy is, because that is how you translate the things that show up in your office, how you translate the things and turn them into concrete actions in
Right.
your life. You have, first of all, you have a philosophy, whether you think you don't, you do. And really to take the time to look at that and see where that is very helpful. So that was one thing recently, this last Mile High, some young docs, some light bulbs were coming off saying, oh, I didn't, I kind of avoided the philosophy. It's just a little too this, a little too that.
Hmm.
And I just listened, and then they realized, as I was saying, that it's much more than that. It's not an object, and you already have philosophy. So make sure it's congruent
Right.
with chiropractic.
Right, right. And it's amazing the stories we hear of people of things they gained from Mile High that I didn't even realize. I
Mm,
wouldn't. They say the old chiropractic adage that we know of: you never know how far
yep,
reaching, right?
yep,
And if you go back, you and I were involved. We were talking about how far reaching something with WCCS way back in the day.
right.
So, being involved together in something like that, and like then look 25 years or whatever, it might be 30 years. I don't want to say that. Later, we're doing this together, right? So you don't know how that. And then I have people that tell me, um, you know, thank you for the Mile High podcast
Mm,
because at this event, thank you for the Mile High podcast because I'm actually learning chiropractic there. If I hadn't had the Mile High podcast, I would be a what's the phrase? Uh, oh, I'm gonna forget the phrase right where I'm saying it. A glorified PT. He said if it wasn't for the Mile High podcast and things like that happen at Mile High when people say this is where I get stuff every year and they know they tell you that they
yeah,
tell all the MCs that that sense of that you're doing something that's a force for good
yeah.
is huge.
It's huge. It's completely rewarding. And I'll be honest and human to the viewers here, as we approach Mile High and the intensity gets up, you can sometimes question, like, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? This is so insane. This is
I
so,
never think
yeah,
that.
yeah, you never do, of course. Or like, we've got to do this a little better, a little this, a little, and it's like, and then I get there and I'm usually on the phone on the drive home with my wife. God bless her. And I'm like, I first of all feel so empowered. I feel so centered
Mhm,
as a person, not just a chiropractor.
mhm.
And I'm just full of so much love and gratitude. I wish they had 4 Mile Highs a year.
Don't
I,
say that.
I don't know that I'd want to volunteer for four, but or help put one on. But yeah, it's incredible. It's
Someone
incredible.
told me that like after the second year of Mile High, said you got to do this 4 times a year. It's like you're gonna, yeah. I'd rather choose to be alive. So
Right. How about you pull all my fingernails out
yeah, yeah,
instead?
yeah. But you're right. Afterwards, the high of it is so energizing because people are so thrilled with the whole experience,
Yeah.
So that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
So, and what have you seen in people's faces, smiles, the things they've said to you, over, whatever year it was?
I feel like I'm looking in a mirror, just as I described my experience afterwards. I see this. I'm not alone in this. It's like
Right.
everybody is saying that. Everybody, and you guys do such a great job of having such a wide range of speakers.
Hmm. Yeah.
Whether they're pediatric or geriatric or sports or just, straightforward or like so many,
Right.
more tonal based, more structural based. It doesn't matter. And everyone is getting their eyes open, their hearts opened, and their hands on fire. Like the feedback that we get that's the most exciting to me is the like weeks after, months after, people talking as if this was a paid coaching event. They're like, I saw more people than I've ever seen in my office. I got this like six
Right.
people had miracles. And it's that part's fantastic.
Right. 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 So now you practice in Fort Collins. Name your practice again for everybody.
Chiropractic Wellness Center. Pretty
Chiropractic
straight.
Wellness Center. Um, what's some Simon wisdom? Let's talk about some Simon wisdom. What are some things that practicing the X number of years that you've practiced, it's similar
Mm,
to me.
mm.
What's some wisdom that you can share that, this was, I wish I knew this,
Oh,
my first year. It's something that, man, this is what I grew into and I realized, and this is people need to know this when they get, open their doors.
yeah. Wow. Thank you. Two things. One, not a mystery, but our profession attracts a fair amount of lone wolves.
Hmm.
People that are willing to go against status quo of things, shakers and movers, not all and not super intense, but there's a quality to kind of do this very different approach to healthcare. So having that lone wolf is a very powerful tool. The mistake that I made that I wished I had kind of come to my realization with a bit sooner was
Mhm.
it would probably be a good idea to get a mentor or a coach who
Mhm.
has done this before. Um, and gosh, I'll do the quick. I mean, it was easily 10 years of being out in the trenches and before I finally got a coach and then got another one and then got and just you
And
don't stop.
decide I don't want to keep reinventing the wheel. I want to get some guidance.
Right. And accountability and like some like trust and like teamwork. It's so that's one that was
So do that
hugely
earlier.
do that much earlier. Oh, it would have saved me so much heartache and struggle, and I would have had greater impact, which are two things that I care about.
Now, I'll tell you something about that before we get to number two. Someone
Please.
said this to me in chiropractic school, and I didn't quite get what they meant. Um, but it's important, really relative to what you said, which was they said, you think that something is going to cost you. It
Mm,
was actually the wife of a person or a person's dad that lived in my house in chiropractic school.
okay.
And she said, "Think you think something's going to cost you, and then it's going to make you $100,000 more or something like that, and you or $50,000 more. Or it's just going to have a little bit less income. What you don't realize is." It's not the more income that you make the first and second year, it's the more income you make the last year that you retire because you
Wow.
go up faster and you would have made less that last year
Right.
than you
That's
would have the first 2 or 3 years. And I thought that was so interesting to think of it that way. Like
yeah.
you're going to continue to make for 10 years a lower income, but when you finally hit like your stride,
Yeah.
you lost 10 years of the higher income.
Right. That's a great perspective to like get some leverage on you and in like excitement.
Yeah, yeah, truly, truly. And I had
Wow.
never thought of it that way.
Nor
So
I.
good reminder. So what was number two?
So number two falls in the like I think what a lot of people that gain professional degrees, whether it's, lawyer, MD, chiropractor, you reach this high level of education and status, and you get all these diplomas and emblems and stamps and initials, vegetable soup behind your name. You think you're done,
Hmm.
and that there's a certain amount of absolute, I think it's a great idea to take a pause, after school, detox a little bit and just
From
allow
school? You have to do that from school?
you do. It's top secret. It's not fake news. It's real. And, take the time to find out who you are and what you want to do. But you
Hmm.
can fall back into that lone wolf thing about your own development as a chiropractor, but even more so, this is what I'm uncovering over these last couple of years, is
Hmm.
your own work on yourself because you're more than just a chiropractor
Right,
and you cannot grind this out. You can't,
right.
you cannot. So just realizing that you want to do your work. You want to hard stop the stuff that is getting in the way of the quality of your life, not just the quality of your office, not just the quality of like all that stuff, and really, really lean into whatever adversity is there for you to find your soul path and your happiness. That
Mm.
is that's ongoing. And you're not going to get those answers from coaches and you're not going to get those answers from self-help books. And like those can be tools, important tools, but you got
Right.
to really focus in on doing your work on you.
That's important. That's
Yeah.
important. Well, you notice that you have to grow your next level,
Mm.
right? Means to get to that, whatever that is, and as a business person, as a husband, wife, whatever it is, you have to get where you want to go and who you want to become, you have to leave behind the parts of you that are blocking that,
Yes.
or they're inhibiting that. Uh,
Yes.
and
Yes.
people don't realize that. I want to do this, I want to be this person, I want to have this. Well, what are
Yeah.
you willing to let go of to be that?
Yes. And you're going to need like, right, you can't hold on and try to go that way.
Right.
And then you need energy to get there. And some of the best energy and fuel is that happiness, that emotional state but you need to
Mhm.
be able to direct that. Anyway, so that's, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's really good point. So, um, this is a whole gamut. Uh, I want to say something else, and I wore this shirt specifically today. You know, right? People, Amy
Amy,
Haas.
Amy,
No
Amy.
evidence, my ass. Maybe you can take a screenshot of that, Simon. I don't know. So, or I will later on. Okay. No evidence, my ass, Amy Haas, because I want to acknowledge the Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation for the various things they do, Amy Haas for the research she does, and just add that, additional carp. I didn't know what Mile High would be.
Yeah.
I just like had this spur that we had to do this to change politics in our state and impact some things. And what you said, it was fun to be around people. The days of being at when you were at Life, of going
Yeah.
to DE,
Yes.
and being in that experience as a student. I'm sure you remember the days. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it all kind of blurs together at this point. But you coming up to Sherman Lyceum,
Oh, Lyceum
right?
was a highlight.
Right. It was a highlight that you would come up to Lyceum as a student at Life, and there were
Yeah.
students from all over that would go there, right? I think you guys used to camp in the woods, right?
Yep.
Right. So, but there's a force of good, and I remember like after being out of school for 10, 15 years, saying, I'm going to go back to Sherman Lyceum. I like, why did I miss that for a decade?
Yeah.
This was great to go back to that. Now I do it every year. And I get so much out of being at Sherman Lyceum.
Yeah.
And you have to do things like that. It fills your soul as a chiropractor,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so that's a vital thing. But then to see that not only is it a force for good in that for the chiropractors, but a force for good for things like organizations like the Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation, and we need to do that as chiropractors. We need to have camaraderie and be together, right? You function better, you thrive as a chiropractor in
Mm.
in community, right?
So,
And then also that we can do things to know what organizations to put our time or energy or resources
yeah.
towards, such as the Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation,
Yeah.
such as, specific colleges and so on. So that's another thing that you then feel like, wow, this is, it's not just, it's more than the people on stage. People
Yeah.
on stage are great,
Yeah.
right? And there's more to it than that.
Yeah. And yes, shout out to Amy Haas, Christy Kwan, Matt McCoy, all the work that they do
Right.
tirelessly
Right.
daily. And how about shout out to Scotland College? You'd mentioned the colleges.
Right.
They
Right.
flew all the way out to be at this Mile High. And
And they brought whiskey.
they brought well, they verified that our whiskey was legit, is what they really
Yes.
said.
So
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for your years of service
Yeah,
to
buddy.
Mile High and your years of service as a practitioner
Sure.
to the people of NYC and the people of Colorado,
Yeah.
and and as a friend for sure, and
Yeah.
also to be the man behind the shirt.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So I designed the shirts for all those people that don't understand what the heck Danny is talking about. I designed the shirts for Mile High with a good
The
friend who helps me.
man in the shirt and behind the shirt.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, it's been a
Uh,
pleasure, Danny. Thank you. And let's do it again. That's
yeah,
all I.
your artwork is featured on, people all across the profession and colleges everywhere. And Sherman, at Sherman College, they have a dress code,
Yeah.
okay? But if you wear a chiropractic shirt, then you don't have to do the dress code.
Oh, fun.
So your shirt is often worn at Sherman College
Interesting.
to get out of the dress code.
I love it. Oh,
So you
nice.
never know how far reaching.
I help support the inner rebels of fashion. I
Yeah,
love
so that's kind of important.
I
Well,
love
well, I want again, thank you so much for that, and thank you for being such a gift to the profession,
Thanks,
and thank you for giving to Mile High. And we'll say to everybody, you know you want to be there. Just mark your calendar now. When you make your plans for 2025, just dial, put in the things that you're going to do. Like, you're
Pay
going
your
to be
taxes.
at,
Pay
right.
your taxes. Celebrate Christmas. Go to Mile High. Come on,
Yeah,
people.
put in your date nights and like this is when your office is open, closed, and you're going to be at Sherman Lyceum, and there you circle Mile High, August 23rd weekend, and that way you celebrate Jane's birthday, right?
That's right. You gotta come. Wait till you see who's
Wait till you
gonna
see
come
the
out of
cake.
her birthday cake. It won't be Justin Bieber.
Oh, no, no. It might be Liam Schubel.
It might be. That'd be
You,
great.
you want to make sure it's not Matt McCoy,
Yeah.
right?
Probably. That's a fair
Yep.
bet.
And until then, make sure you keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic.
Peace.